The streets of Sanaa are thick with chants and the hum of tension. Crowds move through the Yemeni capital in waves, men, women and children draped in the familiar green and white flags of the Huthi movement. Their banners rise into the dusty air, painted with slogans denouncing Israel and the United States, their voices carrying the echo of anger and grief. Today's gathering is not a celebration. It is an act of mourning and defiance. The people have come out to honour a fallen commander, a man they describe as a martyr and a hero, Major General Mohammed al-Ghamari. The Houthi military chief, one of the most prominent figures in Yemen's Iran-backed movement, was killed in what the group says was an Israeli strike. In a statement released by the Houthi authorities, they confirmed his death, along with what they called his companions, among them his 13-year-old son. No date was given for the attack, but Israeli Defense Minister Israel Katz posted on social media that Ghamari had died of his wounds following an airstrike in August, an operation that, according to Katz, had also killed the Houthi Prime Minister and half his cabinet. For the crowds in Sanaa, that claim only fuels a deeper fury. They see the attack as part of a growing campaign against Yemen's sovereignty, part of what they call an undeclared war by Israel against a nation that has long been under siege, economically, politically and militarily. Speakers take turns at the podium, their voices amplified through crackling loudspeakers. The blood of our leaders will not be in vain, one of them declares, as the crowd roars back in agreement. Around the square, portraits of al-Ghamari are held high, a stern face framed in military uniform, his eyes staring out from banners that now hang from every wall. For years, Ghamari had been a central figure in the Houthi command structure, a strategist, a negotiator, and for many of his followers, a symbol of resistance. His death marks one of the highest-level losses the group has suffered since it took control of Sanaa in 2014. Behind the chants, there is another sound, the low rumble of engines. Pickup trucks mounted with heavy guns circle the area, part of the elaborate security network that now defines daily life in Houthi-controlled Yemen. The rally itself is tightly choreographed. Armed fighters stand guard at the edges of the crowd. Rows of young boys in camouflage uniforms carry the movement's flags. Women watch from nearby rooftops, waving black banners that read, "Death to America, death to Israel." The Houthis have long portrayed their struggle as part of a wider regional confrontation, aligning themselves with what they call the Axis of Resistance, a loose coalition that includes Hezbollah in Lebanon, Iran's Revolutionary Guard, and Hamas in Gaza. In recent months, that alliance has found new momentum. Since the outbreak of the Gaza war, the Houthis have claimed responsibility for dozens of missile and drone attacks on ships in the Red Sea. Strikes, they say, are meant to pressure Israel and its Western allies to end their campaign in Gaza. The death of al-Ghamari, then, carries implications far beyond Yemen's borders. Analysts say it could signal an escalation, a widening of the conflict that already stretches from the Mediterranean to the Arabian Sea. At the heart of this growing confrontation is a web of regional rivalries and deepening mistrust. Israel, which has rarely acknowledged its operations beyond its immediate borders, has in recent months increased its intelligence and military activity targeting groups it considers threats to its national security. For the Houthis, however, the latest strike is more than a tactical loss. It is a personal blow. Al-Ghamari was not just a commander. He was also a founding member of the group's modern military council, credited with overseeing the coordination of missile units and air defences during the height of the Saudi-led coalition war. His death, alongside his young son, adds a tragic dimension that resonates deeply among supporters. In the narrow streets of the old city, shopkeepers pause to watch the procession pass. The sound of the muezzin drifts across the rooftops, mingling with the chants from below. At one corner, a group of schoolchildren hold up handmade signs. One reads simply, "We will continue his path." In interviews broadcast on local television, senior Houthi officials describe al-Ghamari as a martyr who died defending Yemen's dignity. They accuse Israel of committing what they call state terrorism and warn that retaliation is inevitable. Across the region, reactions have been mixed. Some Arab governments have remained silent, wary of inflaming tensions at a time when diplomatic efforts are underway to stabilize the Red Sea corridor. Others, including Iran, have condemned the strike as an act of aggression and vowed continued support for the Houthi movement. Meanwhile, the United Nations has expressed concern that the latest escalation could further endanger maritime traffic in one of the world's most critical shipping lanes. Since the start of the year, Houthi attacks on commercial vessels have disrupted global trade, forcing shipping companies to reroute around the Cape of Good Hope, a detour that adds thousands of miles and millions of dollars in fuel costs. Inside Sanaa, however, the focus remains on the funeral march. The coffin, draped in the Houthi flag, is carried through the crowd on the shoulders of uniformed fighters. A sea of green banners waves in rhythm with the chants. Some weep openly. Others raise their fists in silent salute. To the people here, the death of Mohammed al-Ghamari is not just the loss of a man. It is a continuation of what they see as a long chain of sacrifices, from commanders killed in airstrikes to civilians lost in years of bombardment. As night falls over Sanaa, the rally begins to thin out, but the message remains etched in the air. Loudspeakers continue to play speeches from the movement's leaders. "We will respond at the right time, in the right place," one voice proclaims. In Washington and Tel Aviv, intelligence agencies are watching closely. Officials there believe the strike on al-Ghamari could disrupt Houthi command operations temporarily, but they also know it could provoke further retaliation. Already, reports from the Red Sea suggest renewed drone activity targeting vessels linked to Israel. The US Navy, operating as part of a multinational coalition, has intercepted several such attacks in recent weeks. For Yemenis living through the conflict, the pattern feels painfully familiar, a cycle of violence that feeds on itself. Each strike brings retaliation, each loss deepens the resolve, and for ordinary people caught in the middle, survival becomes the only strategy left. At a small cafe in the heart of Sanaa, an elderly man watches footage of the funeral procession on a flickering television. "He was a soldier," he says quietly. "Now he is a story." That story is already being woven into the broader narrative of resistance, a narrative that stretches from Beirut to Tehran, from Damascus to Gaza. For the Houthi movement, the death of a commander is never the end. It is a rallying cry. Analysts warn that the regional situation is more volatile than at any time in recent years, with Israel engaged on multiple fronts, in Gaza, in Lebanon, and now indirectly in Yemen. The risk of a broader confrontation looms large. Diplomatic efforts continue behind the scenes. Oman and Qatar, both of which have acted as intermediaries in the past, are reportedly urging restraint. But within the Houthi ranks, the tone is unmistakable. They intend to strike back. In speeches broadcast late at night, Abdul Malik al-Houthi, the movement's leader, vows that every drop of blood will be avenged. His words echo across radio frequencies, carried into homes where electricity comes and goes in flickers. For those listening in candlelight, the promise is both reassurance and warning, a reminder that Yemen's long war, now entering its second decade, shows no sign of ending. In the days following the funeral, satellite images show increased activity at several Houthi military sites in northern Yemen. Convoys of vehicles move under cover of darkness. Western intelligence sources suggest preparations for renewed drone and missile operations. On the diplomatic front, the UN Security Council convenes an emergency session. The Yemeni government in exile, based in Riyadh, accuses the Houthis of escalating regional instability. Israel, in turn, defends its actions as preemptive defense against imminent threats. Caught between these statements are millions of Yemenis displaced, hungry and exhausted. According to UN estimates, more than 18 million people in Yemen remain in need of humanitarian aid. The economy is shattered. The health system, once fragile, is now on the brink of collapse. Yet amid the despair, moments of resilience still emerge. In a narrow alley near Sanaa University, a young man paints a mural of al-Ghamari. Around it, children gather, watching as the face of the late commander takes shape in bold strokes of green and red. For them, the image is more than art. It is memory and message. As dawn breaks over the capital, the city is quieter. The posters remain, fluttering in the wind. The slogans painted on walls and bridges speak of revenge and pride. The people, weary but unbroken, return to their daily routines. Somewhere in the distance, a muezzin calls to prayer. The sound rolls through the valley, merging with the faint echo of yesterday's chants. And so another chapter begins, one written in the same language that has defined Yemen's modern history: loss, defiance, and endurance. In the eyes of the crowd, Major General Mohammed al-Ghamari has not died. He has joined a lineage of men whose names become symbols. In the quiet rhythm of the city that mourns him, his story will be told again and again, part of a war that no longer belongs to generals alone, but to the people who carry their memory forward.
الطغيان ببدنكم وكنتم دعائم الحق المبين. يا شعب الشهداء والتضحيات والجهاد، القتل للحمقى نصابوا ومن ولغوا وعاثوا في دمانا. لبيك يا أقصى، لبيك يا أقصى، لبيك يا أقصى. الذين ازدادهم إيمانا وقالوا حسبنا الله.
What the great martyr, Major General Mohammed al-Ghamari, has attained is a high and exalted honour. He aspired to it and longed for it. We are ready to make sacrifice after sacrifice in the name of God and in support of the oppressed among our people. Other martyrs will follow him, and heroes and fighters will join him. This is not a loss and will not weaken us. Instead, it will make us stronger, more courageous, and determined to defeat this Zionist entity and to defend our country against any aggression from any direction, whether from neighbouring states or from the Zionist entity. When the enemies try to assassinate someone, we know in the Arab Islamic world that this person is great and that this person is influential and that this person had a prominent and active role in striking back at the enemies of God. We also come out to tell our brothers in Palestine, as the leader, Abdul Malik al-Huthi, said, "Our eyes are open to constant monitoring. If the enemies return by land, we are ready. If they return by sea, we are ready. And if they return by air, we are ready."